Welcome back to the BookCast. Today we're unpacking every layer of the incredible novel, Heart of Darkness. Get ready for a deep dive into its characters, themes, and the hidden meanings behind the story.
It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. Our mission for this deep dive, you see, isn't just to recap Joseph Conrad's seminal work, but to truly journey with Charlie Marlowe's unsettling narrative, unraveling its profound layers of meaning and introducing you to the unforgettable characters who populate its shadowed world.
Yeah, really get into it.
We're exploring it not just as a story about a geographical region, but as an expedition into the depths of human nature and the profound complexities of colonialism.
And that kind of in-depth exploration is precisely what this novel demands. What's truly fascinating here is how much Heart of Darkness continues to resonate, even more than a century after it was penned.
It really does, doesn't it?
Despite its historical setting, its insights into power, corruption, and that surprisingly thin veneer of civilization remain startlingly relevant.
Startling.
This isn't just an old tale to be studied in a classroom. It's a powerful, unsettling mirror. It reflects fundamental questions about who we are, what we're capable of when pushed to our limits,
Right.
and the uncomfortable truths lurking beneath the surface of grand ideals. It's a cornerstone of literature for a reason, challenging us to look beyond the obvious.
Challenging is definitely the word. Okay, section 1. The Thames and the unveiling of Marlowe's narrative.
Let's set the scene.
So let's cast off with Marlowe, shall we? Our deep dive into Heart of Darkness opens on a really intriguing, almost serene scene. We're aboard a cruising yawl named the Nellie, anchored on the Thames.
Yeah, it's calm. Peaceful, almost.
It's late in the day, the flood tide has made, and they're waiting for the turn of the tide. A moment of transition that feels symbolic even at the outset.
That waiting.
We're introduced to a small, diverse group of men. There's the director of companies, who also serves as their captain and host. The lawyer, who, due to his years and virtues, gets the only cushion on deck.
Lucky guy.
And the accountant, meticulously toying with dominoes, a picture of order in waiting. And then there's Charlie Marlowe, sitting cross-legged, leaning against the mizzenmast.
And he stands out immediately?
He strikes a distinct figure, rather ascetic, almost like an idol. It's a quiet, contemplative scene, almost meditative, as the day ends in a serene brilliance.
It truly is a beautifully crafted opening, but it's loaded with subtle implications. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this initial setting on the Thames isn't merely a picturesque backdrop, it's incredibly symbolic.
Right, the river itself.
Exactly. It establishes a profound historical and thematic context. The river itself, this venerable stream, is described by Marlowe as having served the race that peopled its banks for ages, a waterway that has led to the uttermost ends of the earth.
The launch pad for empire.
Precisely. It carried the dreams of men, the seed of commonwealths, the germs of empires out into the world. So, while the immediate atmosphere is one of serene calm, almost exquisite brilliance, there's this underlying mournful gloom over London.
That duality, it's always there.
Always. This duality immediately broadens the scope beyond just a single journey to Africa, suggesting a historical weight, a legacy of both glory and potential darkness that pervades Western expansion.
Yeah.
The uncomfortable insight here is that Conrad forces us to ask if any nation, past or present, truly escapes this dark place within its own history.
A tough question.
The Thames, as a symbol of empire, quietly reflects that every civilizing mission can, and often does, contain its own heart of darkness, a powerful reminder that our self-perceptions can be dangerously selective.
That's a crucial observation. Marlowe definitely stands apart from his companions on the Nellie. Conrad describes him as not being a typical seaman, but a wanderer who perceives a deeper meaning in things.
He's different. You feel it right away.
Unlike the others, whose minds are of the stay-at-home order even while at sea, Marlowe's perspective is fundamentally different. What are the specific textual clues Conrad gives us from the very beginning that signal Marlowe is not just another seaman, but a wanderer who perceives a deeper meaning?
Good question.
How does that set the stage for his unique narrative voice?
Well, Conrad is quite deliberate. From the outset, Marlowe's companions note that, to him, the meaning of an episode was not inside like a kernel, but outside, enveloping the tale, which brought it out only as a glow brings out a haze.
Ah, that quote. It's key.
It is. It immediately tells us his stories aren't straightforward. They're layered, interpretive, almost impressionistic. He doesn't just recount events, he delves into their implications.
The feeling, the atmosphere around them.
Exactly. The comparison of his ascetic aspect to an idol, further hints at his role as a philosophical observer, someone who stands slightly apart, a recipient and interpreter of profound, perhaps sacred truths.
Hmm.
This unique narrative style is key. It primes us, the listeners, for a journey of interpretation where the truth is elusive, enveloping, and often more about the sensation or impression than a simple fact.
It makes you lean in, doesn't it?
It challenges us to listen not just to what he says, but to what he feels and infers. It raises an important question for us. How do we truly understand an experience if its meaning isn't explicit, but rather a pervasive atmosphere or a subtle shift in perception? It invites a deeper, more active kind of listening.
As the day ends on the Thames, Marlowe then drops a truly jarring historical comparison. He declares, "And this also has been one of the dark places of the earth."
Bam! Just like that.
What exactly is he referring to, and why does Conrad introduce this historical parallel so early on in the narrative? It feels like a punch to the gut after the peaceful opening.
It absolutely is a deliberate shock tactic designed to dismantle any romantic notions of empire. Marlowe is referring to the Roman conquest of Britain 1900 years ago.
Right here, where they're sitting.
Exactly, drawing a stark parallel between that ancient invasion and the European colonialists of his own time, particularly in Africa. He describes the Roman experience in Britain not with glory, but with the brutal reality of cold, fog, tempests, disease, exile, and death.
No romance there.
None at all. It's a raw, unvarnished account of conquest, which he bluntly labels robbery with violence, aggravated murder on a great scale. This immediately strips away any illusion of grandeur from imperial ventures, both past and present.
Undercuts it completely.
By setting this scene on the Thames, a river deeply tied to British imperial history, Conrad forces his audience to confront their own nation's colonial past and its inherent brutalities, rather than simply projecting them onto an other in a far-off land.
He then pauses, reflecting on that brutal history, and offers a glimmer of what might redeem such acts. He says, "What redeems it is the idea only, an idea at the back of it, not a sentimental pretense, but an idea, and an unselfish belief in the idea." This is a powerful distinction.
This is truly a pivotal statement, perhaps the very heart of Marlowe's early philosophical reflections and a core thematic question for the entire novel.
The idea.
Yes, he's suggesting that the only thing that might redeem the inherent violence, greed, and destruction of conquest is a genuine, unselfish belief in a noble idea.
Not just an excuse.
Exactly. It's not just a sentimental pretense, not just a pretty excuse or a thin justification, but a profound, almost spiritual conviction in something larger than personal gain. The idea could be spreading true civilization, enlightenment, or genuine progress.
But is it ever really that?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And it's chillingly relevant today. When we see grand promises of progress or liberation in political or corporate rhetoric, Conrad urges us to look past the sentimental pretense and interrogate the true underlying idea.
Is it real? Or just a mask?
Is it a genuine, unselfish belief? Or simply a sophisticated mask for self-interest and robbery with violence? Is a pursuit of an ideal strong enough to counteract the raw, destructive fascination of the abomination that the wilderness can awaken in men, leading to utter savagery?
That fascination, he brings that up too.
He does. It's a fundamental question about moral foundations, and it's one that the rest of his journey into the Congo will relentlessly explore, forcing us to constantly question the motivations behind any large-scale human endeavor.
Okay, section 2. Marlowe's call to the place of darkness.
The journey begins.
So Marlowe is clearly a man drawn to journeys that offer more than just a change of scenery. This next chapter of his journey begins with a powerful recollection of his childhood passion for maps.
Ah, the maps. Love this part.
He talks about how, as a boy, he loved looking at maps, particularly those blank spaces that symbolized adventure and beckoned exploration. He'd put his finger on them and declare, "When I grow up, I will go there."
That childhood dream.
But by the time he's an adult, ready for his next seafaring adventure, Africa, which was once this blank space of delightful mystery, has been filled in with rivers and names. Yet, instead of becoming clearer, it's transformed into something far more ominous. A place of darkness on the map.
The transformation of that map is incredibly powerful imagery, isn't it? It reflects a profound shift from innocent wonder and the allure of the unknown to a darker, more knowing and unsettling reality.
Yeah, the mystery turns sinister.
Marlowe describes the Congo River, in particular, with unforgettable vividness. He sees it as an immense snake uncoiled, with its head in the sea, his body at rest, curving afar over a vast country, and its tail lost in the depths of the land.
That snake image,
Wow. Simultaneously captivating and foreboding. It's a primal serpent, ancient and powerful, luring him in, hinting at the dangerous, winding, and ultimately consuming nature of the journey he's about to undertake.
It draws you in, but it's scary.
It's not just a river, it's a living, breathing entity that seems to hold ancient, unsettling secrets and promises an experience that will fundamentally alter him. This whole passage offers a powerful connection for us, the listeners, as it illustrates how maps and childhood dreams can deeply shape our adult pursuits and ambitions, even if the reality we encounter is a far cry from the initial innocent vision.
Yeah, reality bites sometimes.
It forces us to ask, how often do our youthful fantasies blind us to the potential harshness of reality?
And it's precisely this snake on the map, this call of the unknown, that pulls Marlowe towards Africa. He's driven by a desire to take charge of a steamboat for a trading company there, and he secures his appointment through his aunt.
Ah, yes, the aunt.
Whom he describes as a dear, enthusiastic soul. She epitomizes a common European perception, believing wholeheartedly in the glorious idea of civilizing the ignorant millions, and sees Marlowe as an emissary of light, a lower sort of apostle in this noble cause.
Bless her heart, but completely naive, right? This idealistic view of the colonial mission, championed by Marlowe's aunt, is immediately and brutally contrasted with Marlowe's stark observations as soon as he arrives in the whited sepulchre city, which we understand to be Brussels.
The company headquarters.
Right.
Yeah.
The headquarters of the company. The term whited sepulchre itself is a biblical allusion.
It's from Matthew, yeah.
Exactly, where Jesus condemns the Pharisees.
Oh.
Woe to you, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness.
Perfect metaphor.
It's a perfect metaphor for the company's outward claims of establishing an overseas empire and engaging in trade that conceal a far more sinister and destructive reality. He encounters two knitting women in black wool.
Oh, the knitters.
Creepy, described as guarding the door of darkness. Their indifferent yet knowing glances, and the phrase morituri te salutant, Latin for those about to die salute you, echoing ancient Roman gladiators addressing the emperor before combat.
Chilling.
It immediately injects a chilling sense of impending doom and the fatalism inherent in this entire colonial enterprise. The women, silent and seemingly innocuous, represent the unconcerned gatekeepers to this horrifying truth, suggesting that many who venture forth are walking towards a metaphorical, if not literal, death.
That chilling detail definitely sets the tone. As if that weren't enough, Marlowe then has a truly unsettling visit to the company doctor before he departs.
Head measuring.
The doctor measures his cranium and, in a very matter-of-fact tone, asks about madness in your family. It's such a bizarre, almost absurd interaction, yet it's so loaded with dark meaning and foreboding.
Indeed. The doctor's chilling remark, the changes take place inside, is a direct and ominous foreshadowing. Not just for Kurtz, but for Marlowe himself and anyone who enters this place of darkness.
It's not the tropics, it's the mind.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He's not primarily concerned with physical ailments from the tropics, but with the profound mental and moral toll the environment and the work within it can inflict. The doctor tells Marlowe he measures the heads of those going out, but pointedly states he never sees them when they return.
Because they don't come back the same. Or at all.
Exactly. This implies that the psychological corruption, the descent into madness, or the complete moral decay, the real danger. Something irreversible that transforms people beyond recognition. This directly points to Kurtz's eventual fate, and subtly hints at Marlowe's own internal struggles to maintain his sanity and principles. Makes you wonder. It raises an important question for us. How profoundly do extreme external environments and moral compromises affect our internal states? And how often do we, like the company officials who ignore these warnings, overlook the subtle yet profound costs to the human psyche? It's a powerful and understated moment of prescience that sets the stage for the psychological horror to come.
Right. Section 3, the outer station chaos and the glimmer of Kurtz.
Here we go. Into the thick of it.
So Marlowe sets off for the Congo, and his journey along the African coast on a French steamer is immediately unsettling, an early glimpse into the inefficiency and brutality that awaits him. He witnesses a French man-of-war shelling the bush pointlessly.
Firing into nothing. Just why?
Firing into a continent where nothing could happen, a truly incomprehensible scene. This seems to be the chaotic, senseless prelude to what he finds when he finally arrives at the outer station.
It's more than unsettling. It's a scene of utter, inhabited devastation, Marlowe describes the objectless blasting where they're supposedly building a railway,
Yeah.
yet the cliff they're blasting was not in the way of anything discernible.
Makes no sense.
None. There's decaying machinery scattered everywhere like the carcass of some animal, mounds of turned-up earth, and a general atmosphere of futility. This vividly portrays the profound inefficiency, waste, and destructive nature of the entire colonial venture.
Total waste.
It's a landscape ravaged not by nature, but by human folly, and a lack of any coherent purpose beyond exploitation. The air is thick with a mournful stillness, punctuated only by meaningless explosions. This isn't productive enterprise, it's senseless destruction, immediately exposing the lie behind any civilizing mission. It's a physical representation of the moral decay that has already set in.
And the human cost of this chaotic enterprise is immediately and horrifyingly evident to Marlowe. He makes a gut-wrenching discovery, the Grove of Death.
Oh, this scene. Brutal.
Where black shapes crouched, lay, sat, slowly dying from disease and starvation. These people were brought there under time contracts, essentially coerced labor only to be discarded like broken machinery when they became inefficient.
Used up and thrown away?
It's a truly awful scene, almost indescribable in its silent suffering.
What's particularly striking and deeply disturbing here is the sight of the chain gang. 6 black men chained together, toiling under the watchful eye of a white man with a rifle.
Chain gang, yeah.
Marlowe's powerful observation cuts right to the core of the injustice and the arbitrary nature of colonial power. These men could by no stretch of imagination be called enemies. They were called criminals.
Just labeled criminals for convenience.
Exactly. This reveals the arbitrary and brutal application of colonial law, where native peoples are stripped of their dignity and humanity, reduced to mere labor or labeled criminals for the sole convenience of the colonizers. These scenes graphically illustrate the dehumanizing effects of exploitation.
Strips away any pretense.
Completely, stripping away any pretense of an idea behind the conquest. He even notices a perplexing detail, a little bit of white thread tied around the neck of one of the dying men in the grove.
The white thread. So strange.
Something from beyond the seas. An inexplicable detail that highlights the vast alien gap between their worlds. A tiny, incongruous symbol of the distant, indifferent civilization that has caused such suffering. It foreshadows the flabby, pretending, weak-eyed devil of a rapacious and pitiless folly that Marlowe increasingly anticipates.
That's a hell of a description.
A dark evil, devoid of any genuine redeeming idea.
Amidst all this devastation, Marlowe encounters a curious, almost surreal figure, the chief accountant.
Ah, Mr. Starch Collar.
He's an anomaly of unexpected elegance, starched collars, white cuffs, a light alpaca jacket, meticulously maintaining his books in perfect order, somehow untouched by the surrounding squalor.
Like a ghost at the feast.
He's almost like a vision in this chaotic, morally bankrupt landscape. And it's from his lips that Marlowe first hears the name of Mr. Kurtz, spoken with an almost reverential tone.
The accountant's fastidiousness in such a great demoralization of the land makes him an unforgettable character. He's an island of superficial order amidst utter chaos, yet he's also profoundly detached.
Totally detached.
Only exhibiting gentle annoyance at the groans of a dying man in his office, as if it's merely a disturbance to his ledger keeping.
Can you imagine?
When he speaks of Kurtz, he describes him as a very remarkable person, a first-class agent, who sends in as much ivory as all the others put together.
The legend begins.
This immediately establishes Kurtz as a figure of immense reputation and commercial success, almost mythical in his efficiency and ability to extract wealth. However, the description carries a subtle, profound, and possibly sinister undertone.
There's something off about it.
It hints that there's something more to Kurtz's success than mere business acumen, something that makes him too effective, almost unnatural. The phrase first-class agent in this context takes on a double meaning, suggesting he excels at the actual purpose of the company, which is not civilizing, but extracting.
And we get our first visual cue of Kurtz's complex inner world through an unexpected piece of art. The accountant mentions a painting by Kurtz.
Yes. This illustrative detail of Kurtz's painting is highly significant. It's our initial, deeply unsettling glimpse into the man himself before we even meet him.
The blindfolded woman with the torch.
Exactly. It depicts a blindfolded woman carrying a lighted torch set against a somber, almost black background, with a torchlight creating a sinister effect. This single image immediately establishes Kurtz as a mind that is both artistic and profoundly disturbed.
An idealist gone wrong.
Perhaps. An idealist whose vision has become twisted. The blindfold could represent ignorance, or perhaps a misguided form of justice. The torch could symbolize enlightenment, or ironically, destruction, and the sinister effect suggests a twisted idealism or a deep moral ambiguity at the heart of Kurtz's character.
So many layers already.
This early introduction sets up a profound mystery around Kurtz, preparing us for a figure far more complex, contradictory, and troubling than a mere successful agent. It makes you wonder, what kind of light is this woman carrying when she's blindfolded? And what kind of darkness is she blind to while illuminating it for others? It foreshadows a character who embodies the very contradictions of the civilizing mission.
Okay, Section 4. The Central Station and the Shadow of Ambition.
More delay is more corruption.
After the grim realities of the outer station, Marlowe begins a 200-mile tramp to the Central Station, a grueling journey marked by abandoned villages and dying carriers.
Not exactly a scenic height.
He finally arrives only to find his steamboat, which he was supposed to command, at the bottom of the river. It was conveniently wrecked just before he got there.
Surprise. Not really.
This definitely sounds like more than just an unfortunate accident, doesn't it? What's really going on here?
You're absolutely right to pick up on that. It's unequivocally implied that the manager orchestrated the steamer's sinking to delay Marlowe, effectively preventing him from reaching Kurtz and his valuable ivory.
Jealousy.
Probably both. The manager himself is a character worth dissecting. He's described as commonplace, lacking any extraordinary talent or intellect, but his remarkably cold eyes and as stealthy a smile, not a smile, reveal a calculated, unsettling nature.
Creepy. Gives you the shivers.
He inspires uneasiness rather than genuine respect or fear, and his only real attribute, ironically, is his robust health in a climate where everyone else falls ill.
He just survives.
Which makes him particularly insidious, as his power comes from subtle manipulation and endurance rather than overt strength. This action of sinking the steamer, ostensibly to stop Marlowe from reaching Kurtz, clearly demonstrates the petty intrigues, jealousy, and cutthroat competition within the company.
Dog eat dog.
Here, self-interest and a desire to maintain one's precarious position override efficiency, progress, and even human life. It's a microcosm of the larger colonial project. Appearances of order, but underneath, ruthless self-preservation and sabotage.
It certainly paints a clear, cynical picture of the true idea at play there, doesn't it? As Marlowe is stuck at the Central Station, waiting for repairs to his steamboat, he observes the other agents, whom he sarcastically dubs pilgrims.
The pilgrims, great name for them.
They wander aimlessly, described as having a taint of imbecile rapacity, utterly obsessed with ivory. Their days are filled with backbiting and intriguing, a petty, almost childish level of scheming.
What's fascinating and deeply revealing here is how they constantly whisper and sigh the word ivory, almost as if praying to it.
Like it's their god.
Exactly. This highlights the utter hollowness of their supposed civilizing mission. Marlowe observes that their only real feeling was the desire to get appointed to a trading post where ivory was to be had so that they could earn percentages.
All about the money.
Any noble rhetoric about humanizing, improving, instructing the natives is exposed as a transparent, sentimental pretense. These pilgrims are not spiritual seekers or true pioneers. They are bewitched men, driven solely by a crude, insatiable greed for wealth.
Pathetic, really.
Their show of work is a farce, their conversations filled with trivialities and jealousies. Their actions fundamentally underscore the novel's biting critique of colonialism as a system primarily motivated by avarice, stripping away any pretense of moral purpose.
No idea in sight.
None. They are small men consumed by a destructive obsession, making a mockery of the grand idea that Marlowe referenced earlier. Is there any redeeming quality among these pilgrims, or are they purely caricatures of colonial avarice? Conrad, through Marlowe, suggests that their very triviality and lack of a grander vision makes them perhaps even more contemptible than outright brutality,
Interesting point.
as they embody a kind of hollow, self-serving evil.
And if the pilgrims weren't enough to expose the rot at the core of the company, we then see the arrival of the El Dorado exploring expedition, led by the manager's uncle.
All these guys. The Buccaneers.
Marlowe describes them as a band of sordid buccaneers, utterly devoid of foresight or serious intention. They arrive with donkeys and a chaotic assortment of gear, looking like they've simply plundered a shop. The very name El Dorado conjures images of mythical gold cities, yet their reality is anything but glorious.
This El Dorado exploring expedition is perhaps the most explicit and cynical condemnation of the colonial enterprise in the early parts of the novel. The grand romantic name El Dorado, evoking legendary cities of gold and boundless riches, contrasts so sharply with their actual nature and purpose.
All name, no substance.
Marlowe states bluntly that their true goal is to tear treasure out of the bowels of the land, and he adds with scathing clarity that they had no more moral purpose than in burglars breaking into a safe.
Ouch. Brutal comparison.
This directly connects back to Marlowe's earlier reflection on conquest and the idea that might redeem it. The expedition proves that for many there is no idea, no unselfish belief, just pure, unadulterated greed and a pitiless folly.
Just smash and grab.
They represent the basest form of exploitation, stripping away any veneer of civilization or benevolent intent. Their subsequent fate, all the donkeys dying in the wilderness, foreshadows the inevitable and often tragic consequences of such an unprincipled invasion.
Nature fights back, in a way.
It reinforces the theme that the wilderness has a way of exposing and punishing those who come to it with only rapacious, destructive intent. They're utterly unprepared, driven only by avarice, and therefore destined to fail in any meaningful sense. They highlight the destructive absurdity of pure, unchecked greed against the backdrop of an unforgiving natural world.
All right, Section 5, the perilous journey upriver and the encounter with the wild.
Finally, heading towards Kurtz.
So after these frustrating and illuminating delays, Marlowe finally gets his steamboat repaired and sets off up the Congo River. He describes this journey as traveling back to the earliest beginnings of the world.
Primeval. Ancient.
A place where vegetation rioted on the earth and the big trees were kings. It's a primal landscape, where nature isn't something to be admired from a distance. It's a monstrous and free force, overwhelmingly powerful and ancient.
It truly is a profound descent, not just geographically but existentially, into what Marlowe terms the heart of darkness. He emphasizes the profound silence and stillness of the jungle. But crucially, it's not a peace.
No, it's tense, brooding.
Instead, it's the stillness of an implacable force brooding over an inscrutable intention. The air is described as warm, thick, heavy, sluggish, creating a suffocating, almost visceral experience.
You can almost feel it.
The ever-present haunting sound of far-off drums contributes to a feeling of being cut off from the comprehension of our surroundings, disoriented and isolated from everything familiar.
Adrift.
This journey fundamentally challenges Marlowe's, and by extension, our understanding of what constitutes civilization versus savagery. It's an environment that strips away the superficialities of European life, forcing a confrontation with primal truths and the wild and passionate uproar of untamed humanity and nature.
Makes you question everything.
It asks us to consider what happens when the structures of society, the comforting illusions of progress, are removed, and how much of our civilized behavior is truly innate versus merely imposed by external constraints.
Amidst this profound wilderness and challenging journey, Marlowe observes his African crew, including a particularly notable figure, the fireman.
The fireman, yeah, interesting character.
He describes this savage fireman as an improved specimen because he'd been trained to operate the boiler, a complex piece of European machinery. But Marlowe's observations of him are incredibly complex and layered, far from simple judgment.
What's truly fascinating here is Marlowe's dual perception, revealing his evolving perspective compared to the other Europeans. He notes the fireman's filed teeth, shaved head, and ornamental scars, recognizing his primal appearance and cultural practices.
Sees both sides.
Yet also acknowledging his functional efficiency in operating the steamboat's boiler. Marlowe describes him in a rather demeaning way as looking like a dog in a parody of breeches and a feather hat, walking on his hind legs, which highlights the superficiality of the improvement that colonialism attempts.
Just dressing him up.
Right. The fireman is trained, but his underlying beliefs remain primal. He believes the boiler's evil spirit would get angry if the water disappeared, illustrating a profound cultural clash and the limited success of imposing Western civilization.
The improvement is skin deep.
However, unlike the other pilgrims, Marlowe recognizes the fireman's humanity, albeit in a complex, almost detached way. He sees him as both a trained worker and a being still deeply connected to his own beliefs and culture, a connection that the white men largely ignore.
He sees him not just a tool.
This raises an important question for us. Can true improvement happen when it's merely a superficial overlay of technology or customs, or does genuine transformation require a deeper understanding and respect for existing cultures and a recognition of shared humanity? Marlowe's observation here is a subtle critique of the very idea of civilizing without genuine understanding.
The journey upriver takes an even more ominous turn when they are enveloped in a dense, blinding white fog near Kurtz's station. It's an incredibly eerie, disorienting atmosphere.
All right, fog, like being blindfolded.
Then, piercing the stillness, they hear a cry, a very loud cry, as of infinite desolation. Soon after, arrows start flying from the bush. It's an attack, undoubtedly.
But that cry.
But Marlowe perceives the cries not purely as hostile, but with an irresistible impression of sorrow and unrestrained grief. This is a critical distinction.
This moment is a stark and deeply significant contrast between Marlowe's nuanced perception and the white pilgrim's simplistic, fear-driven reaction.
They just want to shoot.
The pilgrims are instantly terrified, eager for slaughter, ready to squirt lead into that bush with their Winchesters, reducing the situation to pure aggression. In stark opposition, the black crew members, despite being cannibals who haven't eaten properly for a month and are undoubtedly hungry,
Cannibals?
display a remarkable restraint, a mystery greater than the clamor from the bank, as Marlowe notes. He explicitly wonders why, with 30-5 odds, they don't simply attack the whites for food.
That restraint. It's powerful.
This observation profoundly challenges simplistic notions of savage versus civilized and forces Marlowe and us to confront the idea that what is often labeled savagery might contain its own profound forms of discipline, honor, and complex motivations that the Europeans utterly failed to grasp.
Turns the whole idea upside down.
Marlowe interprets the attack as a desperate attempt at repulse, fueled by a profound grief and a desire to keep the steamer away from Kurtz, suggesting a deeper, more human motivation behind the wild cries than mere aggression. It's a moment where Marlowe truly begins to question the moral superiority of the Europeans and recognize the complex humanity of the native people.
His perspective is shifting.
He sees an inherent restraint in the savages that is utterly lacking in the civilized pilgrims, turning the conventional understanding of savagery on its head.
And the human cost of this journey becomes even more tangible and personal for Marlowe, with the brutal death of the helmsman speared through the side during the attack.
Helmsman, yeah, that hits hard.
Marlowe experiences an unexpected grief for this man, describing it as a kind of partnership and a subtle bond that had formed between them over the course of the arduous journey. This isn't just a crew member, it's a profound loss for him.
This loss is profoundly significant for Marlowe because it marks a personal connection that highlights the human cost of the colonial enterprise, extending beyond mere commercial or strategic losses.
It's personal now.
He sees the helmsman not just as an instrument for navigating the river, but as a partner in the harrowing task of navigation, a fellow human being with whom he shared a perilous journey. His grief underscores his evolving morality and sense of responsibility.
He feels it deeply,
showing a capacity for empathy that is conspicuously absent in the pilgrims. Furthermore, his decision to tip the helmsman's body overboard, despite the scandalized murmur from the pilgrims.
Right, to stop the cannibals.
Well, maybe partly, but also perhaps just out of respect. He says, if he was to be eaten, the fishes alone should have him. It's a defiant gesture against the dehumanizing practices of the company.
A final act of dignity.
This act solidifies Marlowe's deepening alienation from the callous, unfeeling pilgrims and his growing, if often uncomfortable, identification with the humanity of the African people. It's a moment of moral clarity for Marlowe, where he chooses respect for the dead over the grotesque utilitarianism of the colonizers.
Okay, Section 6, Kurtz's domain, the zenith and abyss of power.
We've arrived. Finally.
As Marlowe finally approaches Kurtz's inner station, the atmosphere thickens with palpable dread. His initial sense of awe surrounding the mythical Kurtz quickly gives way to horror as he makes a truly shocking discovery.
Yeah.
The ornamented posts surrounding Kurtz's house.
The decorations.
Oh, man.
Which he soon realizes are not mere decorations, but human heads, dried and shrunken, deliberately facing the house. It's an absolutely shocking and visceral sight.
This is indeed the ultimate chilling symbol of Kurtz's unchecked power and profound moral decay, a grotesque monument to his descent. These heads, not just crude trophies but meticulously placed facing the house, are the physical manifestation of Kurtz's lack of restraint in the gratification of his various lusts.
Complete abandon. Marlowe later muses that the wilderness had found him out early and had taken on him a terrible vengeance for the fantastic invasion. He suggests that the wilderness had whispered to him things about himself which he did not know, and the whisper had proved irresistibly fascinating because he was hollow at the core.
Hollow at the core. That's damning.
This grotesque display is a terrifying testament to how isolation, coupled with absolute power and the absence of any moral constraints, can strip away all vestiges of civilization, leaving behind only primal, brutal savagery.
The idea is gone completely.
It's a concrete and horrifying answer to the thematic question of whether any idea can truly redeem the act of conquest, showing that without inner strength or external checks, the fascination of the abomination triumphs, leading to self-destruction. The heads serve as a stark warning. This is what happens when one completely gives in to the dark impulses that lie beneath the thin veneer of civilization.
It's in this terrifying setting that Marlowe meets a truly unexpected and almost absurd figure.
Yeah.
The Harlequin.
The Russian trader.
Yeah. A young Russian trader dressed in bright, patched clothes like a clown. This beardless, boyish figure is Kurtz's devoted disciple, almost worshipping the man who, he claims, enlarged my mind. He's a paradox in himself, a beacon of color in a landscape of darkness and horror.
He truly is a fascinating, almost tragic-comic character in this desolate landscape. The Harlequin, despite his apparent naivete and childlike devotion, unwittingly reveals the brutal reality of Kurtz's methods.
Spills the beans, basically.
He describes Kurtz raiding villages for ivory, being adored by the natives, a sinister adoration born of fear and awe, and even attempting to shoot him, the Harlequin, for a small lot of ivory.
Kurtz tried to shoot him. Wow.
What's truly paradoxical is the Harlequin's unwavering admiration and intellectual subservience to Kurtz, despite the man's brutal and unprincipled actions. He believes Kurtz suffered too much and that he enlarged my mind through his pronouncements on love, justice, conduct of life, completely blind to the hypocrisy.
Utterly mesmerized.
This illustrates the seductive power of a charismatic but utterly corrupt leader, how a powerful voice and grandiose pronouncements can compel devotion and override moral judgment, even in the face of abhorrent actions.
Scary stuff.
The Harlequin's admission that it was Kurtz who ordered the attack on Marlowe's steamer, believing it would scare you away, further cements Kurtz's moral depravity and ruthless pursuit of his own interests, even against other Europeans. The Harlequin embodies the idea that a message can be so compelling that its recipient ignores the monstrous actions of the messenger.
And then, amidst this unsettling scene, another truly powerful and enigmatic figure emerges. The African woman, Kurtz's mistress.
The warrior woman, majestic and terrifying.
She appears like a wild and gorgeous apparition, walking with measured steps draped in striped and fringed cloths, with a wild-eyed and magnificent presence. She's described in terms that make her seem almost elemental, a force of nature.
Marlowe interprets her as a potent symbol of the untamed wilderness itself, a tenebrous and passionate soul. Her tragic and fierce aspect and gesture of uncontrollable desire to touch the sky embody the raw, uninhibited power of the land.
The wilderness personified.
She's adorned with barbarous ornaments worth several elephant tusks, signifying both her profound connection to the wealth and wildness of the land and her elevated status within Kurtz's strange domain. Her natural strength, her raw emotion, and her untamed beauty stand in stark contrast to the flabby pilgrims
No comparison.
and their artificial, hypocritical civilization. She represents a profound challenge to the European notion of control and order, embodying the very essence of the wilderness that has not only claimed Kurtz, but also perhaps amplified his deepest, darkest desires.
She's powerful, unsettling.
She is a potent reminder of the inherent power and mystery of the land that the colonizers sought to exploit and civilize. And she is one of the few characters who seems genuinely connected to a primal, uncorrupted force, making her presence incredibly impactful and haunting.
As Kurtz is finally found and brought back on a stretcher, weakened by illness but still possessing that powerful, vibrating voice, his struggle to cling to his ideas and ivory becomes central. The manager cynically assesses Kurtz's methods as unsound for commerce.
Always about the bottom line, that guy.
Concerned only with the bottom line. But Marlowe, with growing insight, murmurs, no method at all. What's the profound difference between these two assessments, and what does it reveal about Kurtz and the colonial project itself?
This distinction between the manager's unsound method and Marlowe's no method at all is absolutely crucial, cutting to the very heart of the novel's critique. The manager's critique is purely pragmatic and superficial.
Just business.
Right. Concerned only with profit margins, efficiency, and maintaining appearances within the company's narrow materialist framework. For him, Kurtz's methods are unsound because they are not profitable or conventional in a way that benefits the company, implying he's squandering resources or causing too much trouble.
But Marlowe sees deeper.
Marlowe's no method at all, however, implies something far more profound and terrifying. A complete abandonment of any moral, ethical, or even rational framework. It signifies a descent into pure, unrestrained impulse, a state where all societal and self-imposed checks have dissolved.
Total chaos within.
It's the absence of any guiding principle beyond raw, unchecked desire. The core revelation that illuminates this is Kurtz's famous report for the International Society for the Suppression of Savage Customs.
The report, yeah.
It initially reads as a magnificent, eloquent document, full of high-minded ideals about whites appearing as supernatural beings to exert power for good among the native populations. It reflects the initial noble idea Marlowe spoke of.
The beautiful theory.
But then, on the last page, there's the chilling scrawled postscript, added later in an unsteady hand. Exterminate all the brutes.
Gut punch.
This horrifying addition reveals the ultimate collapse of his idealism into brutal, genocidal savagery. It shows how noble intentions, when coupled with absolute power, complete isolation, and the absence of any external accountability, can be utterly corrupted.
The idea curdles into monstrosity,
leading to the terrifying ease with which one can descend into primal destructive instincts. It's a profound statement on the fragility of civilization, the terrifying potential for darkness within the human soul, and the devastating consequences when the idea is stripped bare, revealing only avarice and depravity. It suggests that even the most eloquent rhetoric can mask the most heinous intentions.
Section 7. The horror and the lie. The final act.
Bringing it home. Or maybe not home.
The journey back downriver culminates in Marlowe's intense and deeply unsettling final encounter with Kurtz. He witnesses the change that came over his features, a terrifying mixture of somber pride, of ruthless power, of craven terror, of an intense and hopeless despair.
Seeing everything at once.
And then, in his very last breath, Kurtz utters his famous final whispered words, "The horror. The horror." These words are etched into Marlowe's and our memory.
This ambiguous cry is Kurtz's ultimate, profound, and deeply unsettling judgment. It can be interpreted in multiple ways, and Conrad deliberately leaves it open to provoke our own reflection.
What horror! His own! Humanity's!
Exactly. Is it a judgment on his own life and the monstrous actions he committed? Is it a condemnation of the entire colonial enterprise and its inherent brutalities? Or perhaps, and most chillingly, is it a judgment on the inherent darkness of humanity itself when stripped of societal restraints and exposed to the primal wilderness?
Heavy possibilities.
Marlowe, notably, believes Kurtz had something to say. He said it, and that this cry was an affirmation, a moral victory.
A victory how?
Because, unlike the other pilgrims, Kurtz had the capacity for self-awareness in his final moments, looking into his own soul and acknowledging the monstrous reality he had become. It was a terrifying glimpse of truth, a strange commingling of desire and hate, that only he, having stepped over the edge, could fully articulate.
He saw it. He named it.
This moment is the climax of Marlowe's experience, providing him with a harrowing but invaluable insight into the unconceivable mystery of a soul that knew no restraint, no faith, and no fear. It's the ultimate, terrifying wisdom gained from his journey.
After Kurtz's death, Marlowe returns to London, a city he now bitterly calls the sepulchral city. He feels deeply alienated, unwell, and utterly disengaged from the everyday life around him.
How could he not be? He's seen too much.
He resents the insignificant and silly dreams of ordinary people who simply cannot comprehend the profound horrors he has witnessed, the truths he has unearthed. The contrast between his raw, brutal experience and their blissful, ignorant lives is stark and almost unbearable for him.
His alienation is palpable, a profound sense of isolation born from his unique and terrible knowledge. Marlowe is bombarded by various figures seeking to understand or capitalize on Kurtz's legacy, each offering a distorted, self-serving perspective.
Everyone wants a piece of Kurtz, but they don't get it.
There's the company official, a clean-shaved man with an official manner, who wants Kurtz's report purely for commerce or administration, but dismisses it as not what we had a right to expect once he sees the postscript has been removed.
Because Marlowe tore it off.
Right. Then Kurtz's cousin appears, clinging to the belief that Kurtz was essentially a great musician. Finally, a journalist calls him a potential splendid leader of an extreme party in politics, someone who could get himself to believe anything.
They all see what they want to see.
Each offers a partial, often superficial, and ultimately self-serving view of Kurtz, revealing how little they truly understood the man and the forces that shaped him. Marlowe's selective protection of Kurtz's memory, giving the report to the journalist, but only after tearing off the exterminate all the brutes, postscript.
Protecting the journalist too, maybe?
And refusing to give the official the full, unvarnished truth shows his evolving sense of loyalty and a nuanced understanding that some truths are too destructive for those who live in blissful ignorance. He's wrestling with the immense responsibility of bearing Kurtz's memory and the weight of what he has learned, navigating a world unprepared for such darkness.
This brings us to the emotional and frankly heartbreaking climax of the novel. Marlowe's meeting with Kurtz's intended, his fiancée.
Intended, yeah, the scene is, wow.
She remains in deep mourning, radiating an almost ethereal fidelity for belief for suffering. She holds on to an idealized, beautiful vision of the man she loved, a vision that Marlowe knows is utterly, tragically false.
She lives in this bubble of illusion.
She represents a fragile, beautiful world of illusion that stands in stark opposition to the horrors he's witnessed.
This is a powerful, poignant, and incredibly complex scene that encapsulates the novel's profound themes of truth, illusion, and the protection of innocence. When asked about Kurtz's last words, Marlowe faces a profound moral dilemma.
Tell the truth or lie.
He ultimately lies, telling her that Kurtz uttered her name rather than the horrific truth. The horror. The horror. This lie, which Marlowe, a man who despises lies, chooses to tell, is an act of profound, almost agonizing compassion.
He does it for her.
He recognizes her great and saving illusion, her beautiful world, and consciously chooses to shield her from the triumphant darkness he has witnessed. He feels that if they were to set it up, it would go to pieces before the first sunset.
The truth would destroy her.
This decision highlights a crucial thematic point for us, the listeners. Some truths are simply too terrible to bear, and illusions, however fragile or based on falsehoods, can provide a necessary shield against profound despair and the moral wasteland that Marlowe has experienced.
A necessary lie.
It's a choice between a harsh, dehumanizing reality and a comforting, if ultimately false, idealism. Marlowe chooses the latter, recognizing its necessity in this instance, suggesting that perhaps not all truths serve humanity, and sometimes a protective lie is an act of genuine, if painful, grace. It leaves us pondering the very nature of truth and the human capacity for self-deception in the face of overwhelming horror.
So we've journeyed with Marlowe, seen the darkness both outside and within, confronted the seductive power of unchecked ambition, and witnessed the fragility of ideals. But what does it mean for us?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
In a world constantly grappling with ethical dilemmas, power dynamics, and the search for truth, what illusions do we cling to, perhaps unknowingly, and what horrors do we choose to confront or to shield others from?
Heavy questions to end on.
Consider how much of our perceived progress, whether in business, politics, or even personal lives, might still be built on similar, often unexamined foundations, and what parts of ourselves we truly know when stripped of all societal restraints and confronted with the wilderness within.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
And there you have it. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us and this story. If you enjoyed it, a simple like or subscribe helps the channel out more than you know. Be good and take care.